low frequency oscillators and modulation signal generation and filters. I think it's interesting to start with the modulation generators, because then later we can modulate the filters instead of vice versa. And for filters we have a 24 dB filter, 2 twin peak filters, we have 2 phasers, and we have a frequency shifter. So those are basically sort of like filter kind of things. And for modulation sources we basically have a lot. First of all, we have MIDI signals available, because the MIDI normalizes to the inputs of the matrix, so you can take MIDI signals out of the matrix. There's one MIDI signal that's not on the matrix, which is the MIDI modulation wheel, but the MIDI modulation wheel normalizes to the VCA inputs of the two VCAs that we have in this section, because a modulation wheel basically sets the level of a modulation, which normally you do with a VCA, where you put a modulation signal into the VCA and then the VCA control signal comes from the modulation wheel. So that's quite normal to sort of do it that way. We have 2 triple LFO oscillators. That gives you 6 voltage controlled modulation sources. We have one so-called wrangler, which also has 2 oscillators inside and some circuitry to create all sorts of interesting modulation patterns from there. And you can of course always use the audio oscillators also as modulation sources for each other to do modulations at audio rate. So basically there is plenty available to do to create all sorts of complex modulations.